Welcome to our class today. We want to look at information communication technology. This is a paper that was done in August 2022. We shall tackle the questions from question 1 to the last one. The year you do 5. So question number 1 says, suggest the ethical issues resulting from each of the following technology trends. So the first technology trend is doubling of computer power every 18 months. So if the computer power or the processing power of computer is doubled each 18 months, we shall result in enormous e-waste and environmental impact. So this rapid advancement in this computing power also leads to shorter device life cycles. With that we mean that we shall have devices that within a short time their shelf life is done. So this will lead to increased electronic waste, or what we call e-waste. So this e-waste are always disposed. So if these e-waste are not disposed properly, or they are improperly disposed, then they can lead to health risk due to hazardous materials. There are some materials that are part of the e-waste that when are not properly disposed, then they can be cancerous, or they can also lead to other health issues. The second ethical issue is rapid decline in data storage cost. So privacy and data security. As data storage becomes cheaper, organizations may be inclined to collect and store massive amount of personal data. So remember, if the company has enormous amount of personal data, but there is no proper way of keeping this data, then there could be concerns about the security of this personal data. There could be breaches in security of this personal data, and therefore the owners of this data become vulnerable. There are some data that need security and high level of integrity. So now, because of this rapid decline in the cost of storing data, remember now the companies can use cloud computing as a way of storing their data. The third issue that we can talk about is advancement in networking and internet. So because of the increased or advanced networking and internet, due to this increased computing power, there could be cybersecurity concern. A network technology or advancement in this network technology sometimes could also lead to a high potential for these cyber attackers and those who are doing data breaches, because we may lack as an organization critical infrastructure that should be laid to help the systems or the users of these networks to prevent the intruders from accessing these sensitive systems, and therefore the data via these networks also become vulnerable to attacks. Then we have the B part of the question. The B part says, outline 4 characteristics of an open system. So first of all, we need to understand what is an open system. So an open system is a system that is meant in such a way that it is able to interact with the external environment. It's able to interact with the users. It's able to accept data from users, interact with various entities. So the first characteristics of an open system is input and output. So an open system has the capacity to take input from the environment. So this input is processed, and finally we get the output out of it. So this output is released back to the environment, and they could include information, resources, energy, or materials. So it must receive input, and also from this input, after processing has been done, we have an output. The second characteristic is interaction with the environment. So as we said, open systems actively interact with the environment to exchange and also to receive information. So this interaction is very essential for this system to adapt. So the way the system behaves, the way the system receives information, and the way the system processes this information is influenced greatly by the feedback and the input received from this external environment. And then the third characteristic is dynamic equilibrium. So open systems seek to a state of dynamic equilibrium. So what is a dynamic equilibrium? It's just a state whereby there need to be a balance between the internal processes and the interaction with the environment or the external system to maintain stability and also to help the system in achieving the goal that it was meant to achieve. So this equilibrium is not static, but it can keep on changing. It can be adjusted from time to time. So there must be dynamic equilibrium. Remember, each and every system development life cycle has a goal or an objective that it should achieve. So to achieve this, there must be a balance that must be heated. Then the last characteristics is adaptability or adaptation and change. So open systems, as we've said, since they receive their input from the external existing environment, they are capable of adapting to changes to that environment. There are mechanisms, processes that are in place to respond to these new changes, or if there are new opportunities or even new disturbances. This adaptability will allow the system to evolve and survive in this changing world. Then the C part of the question says, describe 5 moral dimensions of information system. So we have different dimensions. We could have economic dimension, we could have social economic dimension, what we call financial dimension, and in this case we only talk about the moral dimension. So the first moral dimension is privacy and confidentiality. So this dimension majorly involves the protection of individual personal information and assurance that their data is handled with care. So any information system should respect users' privacy. For example, in information systems, the system users always handle sensitive data, and this data is transmitted. So there must be a way to secure this data so that unauthorized access is not given any chance. So there must not be any data breaches. So in order to do that, we could have surveillance so that no one would access this data without consent. So the second moral dimension would be accuracy and reliability. So information systems should provide accurate and reliable information. Without that, then the information that is in these systems or that are produced from this system could be misleading or inaccurate. So this one can pose very dire consequences to the organizations. For example, we have systems that deal with finance, public safety, even healthcare. So there must be a way of maintaining data integrity and ensuring that there is accuracy or in handling this data. Then we have property right and intellectual property. So this dimension is majorly with ethical treatment of intellectual property. So intellectual property could include things like software, content, and digital creation. Majorly intellectual property deals with creative work, ownership of creating work, because this creative work sometimes could lead to some benefits. So it ensures that the person who through his or her creativity has come up with a system or a property are able to eat or to earn from their work. So this information system should respect this copyright. They should respect these patent laws and other forms of intellectual property rights, so that unauthorized copying or distribution of these properties are prevented. Then we have accessibility and digital divide. So we must ensure that there is access to information system and technology to all. The digital divide refers to this gap between those who can access technology and information and those who do not, because of maybe one challenge or another. Maybe they come from rural areas where they do not have proper infrastructure to access these facilities. So the information system should be designed with inclusivity in mind, so that there is no disparities. And then lastly, we have what we call accountability and responsibility. So those who develop, operate, and even manage these information systems, they bear ethical responsibility for their actions and consequences of their systems. So if there is any breach in data, if there is any compromise, or if there is anything that happens in this data that will breach this any other laws that have been laid, then the responsibility lays squarely with the people who use this, the people who operate this information system. So that must be kept in mind. So with these five moral dimensions, then the system will be secure. Then the D part of the question was saying, outline 3 measures that you could include in your business continuity plan. So what is a business continuity plan? This is just a plan or a written plan that ensures that in case of a failure, then your business organization has a way of coming back to its knees, has a way of having life after this failure. So the first measure that could be included in this business continuity plan could be risk assessment and impact analysis. So what is that? So before implementing any measure, it is crucial to conduct a thorough risk assessment and impact analysis. This is just to identify potential threats maybe in your organization. What is it that could pose a threat? Could it be floods or theft? And therefore, these vulnerabilities that could disturb your business operations are outlined properly, and then they are assessed, the potential impact that they can create and how they can disturb the business. So this is called risk assessment and impact analysis. So what risks are there that could interrupt or could interfere with your business, and what impact can they make? Then the second one is data backup and recovery. So we must implement robust data backup and recovery procedures, because sometimes we could lose our data because of maybe some unforeseen circumstances. The organizations can lose crucial data. So this data backup and recovery just ensures that these organizations' critical data and systems are protected and can be restored in an event of disruption or loss. So this could include things like regular backups of essential data, applications, and configurations. So these backups should also be both on-site and off-site to safeguard against any physical damage. So on-site just means that it is within the reach, maybe in a physical location where the business is situated, in an office. Off-site, it could be somewhere in a cloud or in a virtual space. And the last one will be alternative work site and remote work strategy. So what plans do we have? So having a plan for maintaining our operations in alternative work site, that means that, for example, if we cannot access our physical place of work, are there alternatives that we have to have a remote place of working? It could be online on Zoom. We could work maybe in another alternative place. So these alternative work sites enable remote work, and it is very crucial, especially in scenarios where your primary location has become inaccessible. So you must identify suitable backup location or arrangement for your workforce so that they will continue to work, they will continue to access their necessary tools and even equipment. Then we could also talk about communication and notification protocol. So there must be effective communication. So communication must be effective. This is very vital, for example, during disruption, to ensure that employees, customer, even all the stakeholders are informed about situations and any changes to operations. So this calls for clear establishment of communication channels and even protocols, so that people are aware, the people who are working are aware that we have a problem and from today we are going to work from home. Good. So we add question E, the question 1 part E. Question 1 part E says, explain the purpose of HLOOKUP as used in spreadsheet. So we have two types of lookups. We have what we call the VLOOKUP and HLOOKUP. HLOOKUP simply means horizontal lookup. VLOOKUP will mean vertical lookup. So horizontal lookup will just help in automating the process of searching for a value in a row and fetching related data from another row. So a as opposed to VLOOKUP that helps you in fetching data in vertical columns and this corresponding value in another column. This will help us in fetching data in a row and the corresponding value in another row. So that is the purpose of an HLOOKUP as used in spreadsheet. All of us know that spreadsheets have rows and columns, and the intersection of these rows and columns lead to what we call cells. So that was question number 1, 20 marks. So